and welcome to Behind the Dean's Desk, conversations from the College of Graduate and Professional Studies at the Chicago School. I'm Dr. Alicia DeWalt, Dean of the College of Graduate and Professional Studies. This series is designed to highlight our community voices, ideas, and professional impact that shape our graduate and professional programs. In each episode, we step away from formal titles and curricula to have a real conversation about the work we do, why it matters, and how it connects to practice in the field. Well, welcome. Today, I'm joined by Dr. April Demers, our program chair for our Master's in Biomedical Sciences. April works at the intersection of graduate education and health professions preparation, really helping students build that confidence and readiness as they prepare for careers in healthcare. So in this conversation, I'm looking forward to learning about April's work, her journey, and how we are preparing students for those next steps in their career. So welcome, April. Thank you for joining me behind the desk.
Oh, fantastic. So happy to be here.
Thank you. So April, I'd love to first just hear about your journey. How did you get to higher education? We all know there is not a direct pathway here, and would just love to hear your story.
Sure. So I like to identify myself as a non-traditional student. I came into higher education later in life, and my early career, in fact, most of my career, about 25 years of it, was spent in community health, behavioral health, working in healthcare organizations. So that's a lot of the work that I did, really focusing in on community and public health outcomes. And in that work, I became very passionate about looking at health disparities. So what causes differences in health, and looking at, the non-clinical factors that impact health. So that's a very passionate area for me. And I had the opportunity to do a lot of continuing education opportunities for health professionals, and realized what an opportunity to educate our next generation of healthcare providers and how that could really impact how we approach healthcare. So I started looking into higher education, realized I needed to go back to get my PhD, and became a student again. Later in life, I was kind of the mom of my cohort, but enjoyed that. And so, and very passionate about working in biomedical sciences, working with students who really share that passion for becoming a healthcare professional.
That's fantastic. And I would say we work with a lot of non-traditional students in our institution. And so I'm sure with your students, being able to share that story and relate to it is very impactful as well.
Absolutely. In fact, I have, especially in the biomedical sciences program, because our program is really intended to be a developmental pathway for students, I have a very diverse group of students, and a lot of them are non-traditional. They're not straight from undergrad into graduate school, but a lot of them have been professionals, taken some time to have a career, and are coming back around to pursue their dream of higher education in healthcare, whether that's medical school, PA school, CRNA school. So a lot of our students are seeing this as a second opportunity to really achieve their dream.
Nice. Can you share more about our Master's in Biomedical Sciences program? I know brand new for us. We just started our first cohort this fall, and it certainly has grown in interest and new students. So can you share more about what you're doing in that program and the outcomes that it's leading to for your students?
Absolutely. So our program is intentionally designed to be that developmental pathway for students. So the majority of our students are in our program because they're looking to either improve their GPA, improve their science foundation, have some support in the process to applying to graduate health care education. So that's really what our program, that our target audience and our students that we serve are those students. We are a fully online asynchronous program that consists of 30 credits. Plans of study can be really individualized for our students. Some of our students are still working. Some of our students are not working or working and are looking to get through it quickly so that they are ready for application cycles, however that happens to fall for them. So a lot of flexibility in what that looks like. It can be completed in 5 8-week terms, 6 8-week terms, up to 10 8-week terms. So it's very flexible that way for students. Again, it's online and asynchronous, so that means that you don't necessarily meet in person at a scheduled time, but you do have weekly modules that you work through. Our students are really reporting that they love that, and that they're finding that they're almost surprised at how engaging our curriculum actually is. We've intentionally built this curriculum to not just be those core science foundations, you're learning facts, regurgitating it on an exam, but really developmental and have a clinical application aspect to all of our courses. So why are we learning this? How does this matter in a clinical scenario? Our students are really enjoying that. So yeah, it is. It's been a robust start, I'll say, to this program launch. We've had a lot of interest, and we have such a passionate group of students who are really committed and really interested in doing well.
That's fantastic. I love the piece around flexibility, right? Not only within their course, but also within the program. It's the timing that you need based on where you're at, I think is so critical for this group of students and for many students who are balancing work, family, all of those commitments we have, right? So that's fantastic. How do
100%.
you develop that community? You talk about it's all asynchronous, right? But then you talk about engagement and how these students are so committed and engaged with each other. Can you talk about that? How do we meet those needs
Sure.
outside of the course content?
Sure. I think one of the things that really differentiates our program from a lot of other online biomedical science master's program is that a big part of what we provide is pre-health advising. So I have as the program chair, I have regular connections with my students, even outside of the classes that I'm teaching, just on a regular basis, to see how they're doing, see what additional development they need, because we know that getting into medical school isn't just about your GPA, right? There's so much more to that, and really developing those aspects of readiness as well. So we have a lot of very regular connection there. Our courses are also designed to facilitate that engagement among students and among faculty. We have a lot of engaging discussions that happen asynchronously through discussion boards, so we get to know one another. We also have a graduate assistant position that facilitates a lot of those unique opportunities for students to come together and to meet with faculty and to meet with one another, to learn more about medical school, to learn more about biomedical science, the application process, research, opportunities that are available to students. So we put a lot of effort into providing those opportunities, because we know that while there are conveniences to online education, a lot of times that connection can be missing in programs.
Right.
And so we very intentionally build that into the student experience.
Thank you. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. You talk about this group of students in perhaps moving on to medical school, preparing them for their next step in their career. Can you talk a bit about like what are new students carrying when they walk into your program, personally, professionally, they're taking a big step or they're changing their career? What trends have you seen, or what does that look like for your students, and how are we helping to, I don't know, build their confidence or get them ready?
Sure. So I'll tell you, our students are not students that are just going to school to get a degree. This is a very intentional decision. It's an investment in themselves. And so a lot of my students are very excited because they have found a place where they belong. They feel that they belong in this program, and they're realizing that they belong in healthcare, and they belong maybe in medical school if that's where they're intending to go, or CRNA school, or whatever their next step is. For a lot of our students, it didn't happen maybe right out of undergrad, and so they kind of gave up on that dream, and realizing that there's opportunity. So I see that a lot of our students are, because of that very intentional decision and investment in themselves, they're taking this very seriously, but they're also building that confidence. And I love to be alongside of my students on that journey where they're realizing that their dreams of becoming maybe a physician or whatever it might be are still possible for them. And so I will say that our program, the majority of our students are looking to move on to medical school or this advanced healthcare education program. So we have a few that are looking at different programs. And so
Mm-hmm.
when we designed this program, we made sure that we were intentionally preparing them to be strong candidates, not just in the application cycle, but also once they are there. So once they are
Yeah.
actually in that program. And so, as you know, but all students may not know, the Chicago School has a medical school, Illinois College of Osteopathic Medicine. And so Illinois Com worked alongside me in developing the curriculum, and we aligned our curriculum with the AAMC pre-med competencies. So this is a very intentional program to develop those learning outcomes, develop those skills and that knowledge that you need to be a strong applicant, to be a strong student once you get into that program. So I have really enjoyed students finding us and for us to find them, because for a lot of our students it's like, wow, this is exactly what I was looking for, whether they are coming out of
Mm.
undergrad and they want to come straight into our program, or whether they've been out in the field working for a while. This is opportunity, and that's exactly what this program was meant to be.
Thank you. That's just
Yeah.
fantastic. I love that partnership that we have between the
Yes.
MSBS program and our new medical program. I think that's such a great opportunity to increase those educational pathways for students. And so I want to touch on around equity and providing more pathways to students in healthcare. I'd love to talk about what risks that we what risks do we run into when we're looking at traditional markers, not only for entering medical school, entering the MSBS program, your program, but what are we risking when we're just looking at those traditional markers like the MCAT, your GPA? Can you speak to that? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. As someone myself who I am not a strong standardized test taker,
Yeah.
and so recognizing that if I were to go at that alone, that it might be really scary. It might be a barrier for me. And I think that when we're just looking at those, a lot of students immediately get put in the denial pile, right?
Yeah.
There's these firm, bright lines that if you don't meet this metric, then this is out of the realm for you. And Illinois Com, as well as the Chicago Schools MSBS program, we really do double down on our commitment to improving equitable access to education, recognizing that not everybody's coming from the same space, but potential shows up in different ways, and potential shows up in growth and being able to demonstrate growth. So maybe some of our students have taken the MCAT before and didn't do very well. Maybe their GPA is low or their science GPA is low. And so being able to meet students with where they're at, and that really is the foundation of improving equity, right? Meeting people with where they're at and developing to them to where they need to be. And that's part of what this program does. And then that's part of what this program is for Illinois Com. Illinois Com is also very committed to equitable access to healthcare education. And as part of that, they're partnering with us through an articulation agreement to make sure that we are giving opportunity to students who will be amazing physicians, but perhaps they need a little more support. And that's really what this program is looking to offer, and is providing to our students. So, and the thing of it is when we look at inequities, and that's again kind of a passion area for me, looking
Mhm.
at health disparities, and we know that those inequities often exist well before anyone enters the healthcare system. So digging down a little bit deeper, looking very holistically upstream, what's causing this? Is it
Yep.
inequitable access to healthy foods? Is it, inequitable access to transportation or safe housing? Is it inequitable access to healthcare education and training? And oftentimes it is. And so I think part of our commitment is making sure that we create room for folks that are non-traditional students, like myself, like the dean of Illinois College of Osteopathic Medicine.
Yeah.
Dean John Lucas talks a lot about that, how he didn't get into medical school his first round, and he went through a master's program. So I think that the faculty that are all committed to this are very relatable as well, which is exciting. And I will say that Illinois College of Osteopathic Medicine provides very kind of hands-on partnership with our program. They come in and they speak with our students. They provide lectures. Some of the faculty teach within our program. The senior director of admissions comes and meets with our students and talks with our students about how to apply to medical school, how to interview for medical school, what they're looking for. So this is, again, a very supportive developmental process for our students, and I think makes all the difference, really.
I agree. And it's so foundational to what we do at the Chicago School and take very serious in our responsibility in providing those pathways. And it's such the root, right, of why we have your program, the biomedical science program, to provide this pathway to those who might need that extra help, might need more academic preparedness, right, to move into those programs. And to provide that access is us truly continuing to work upstream in higher education to have great career outcomes and diverse medical doctors and healthcare professions and that work that we're
100%.
doing. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And I will say, one of the things that I enjoy the most is when my students realize their potential and they realize they're in the right spot and they realize they're on a path and that this is going to happen. And to be very excited about that, to see that kind of spark come back again has been
Yeah.
great. And it takes work. I will tell you, our program is rigorous, but it is supported rigor. And I think, as somebody who went back to school after not being in school for a very long time and how education had changed, to have some extra support to get you up to speed
Right.
is just tremendous. So I'm grateful for our program and for our school and supporting our students in that.
Yeah, we often look at, when students are coming in, yes, of course, we look at our criteria, but I think we take a lens of, do we have the resources to support this student's success? Can we wrap around them with the resources that we have, seeing their potential and knowing that we can support them through that process as they enter into this new academic world? I'd love to hear more, April. I know you've mentioned it a few times, but your advising model and your mentorship, right? How you're wrapping around these students as they enter the program and progress through. Could you speak more to that piece in your program?
Absolutely. And I love that you use the word wraparound. One of my first positions in my career was a wraparound facilitator. That was what my title was. And so I think that, that has really been something that in my life when working with people, I take a very holistic approach. And I think that really is seen in our pre-health advising services that we provide. We take this approach to each individual. Where are you at? What do you need? What do you need support with? So our advising is very comprehensive. There are some key core aspects to it that we provide, including MCAT development. So MCAT is that medical school entrance exam that a lot of students are really nervous about. And so we spend a lot of time working with our students on that. We have a software that we use that Illinois College of Osteopathic Medicine also uses called Lectorio that allows us to create an assessment, individualized assessment for a student, and then an individualized learning path to incrementally improve where they need to grow in those sections of the MCAT. And over time, we can just measure that progress and we can see their scores go up. I know for a lot of our students, that is a huge value add. To tackle MCAT preparation on your own can be kind of hard to navigate. And so navigating is a big part of that advising. So navigating through the MCAT readiness and taking those exams, but also getting your letters of recommendation, how to do that, how to have patient contact hours, making those connections, writing your personal statement, getting through the application process, getting through your interview, just knowing what to expect. And sometimes, honestly, just having a supportive voice. I meet with some of my students once to twice a week, and it really is, it really
Yeah.
is an opportunity to touch base and just, yep, I've got this. Because one of the things that I think matters a lot with just getting to where you want to go in life, and whether it's getting into medical school or whatever your goal is that persistence and that grit. And so having somebody that's helping you navigate, create that plan and navigate that plan and cheer you on and show up again and again with persistence, that is going to get you there. Putting in the work,
Yeah.
pulling on the resources available to you, and that's really what I work to do as a chair for this program, because I want my students to feel supported, and I think that they do. I think
Yeah.
that they do.
So well said. Well, I am energized by the conversation and just thank you for the work
Oh,
that you're
thanks.
doing in the program and for your students and for the university. I do have one last question for you, April, that I ask
Sure,
everybody that I get to talk to.
sure.
And so, as part of this series, right, we step away from our titles, our roles, the curricula conversations.
Right.
So as we step away from that, what is one thing you hope people better understand about the work you do? And why
Sure.
does it matter beyond the institution?
I, yeah, I think that's a great question. And I think that, and this applies to me too. I think I mentioned I was a non-traditional student. It took me a long time to get to where I'm at. And I think for a lot of my students, they can relate to that. And so I think one thing that I hope that people understand is that potential doesn't always show up on a transcript, right? It's not always right there. It really is that grit, that persistence, and that growth. So being ready to grow and to have that support in that growth, that is something I feel such an honor that I get to be along on my students' journey with them, and I mean that sincerely. So helping people grow and not to give up just because maybe freshman year you didn't get the grades that you needed, and now your GPA suffers, or whatever might be holding you back. Know that your potential is measured so much differently than you might think.
That's wonderful. Thank you,
Yeah.
April. Such a pleasure to connect with you. Thank you so much
Oh,
for your
thank you
time.
so much. This has been really fun.